Hello and welcome to this Tech Talk video on updating our Typhoon H. Updates are very important when it comes to getting the most out of our aircraft. Updates can come in many different forms. They could be adding new features, they could be adding improvements. The first thing we want to do is get our Typhoon H prepped and ready to go. We'll need the Typhoon H itself, an updating cable, and a laptop. The first thing we want to do is open up our web browser. And we're going to navigate to Unique's website. Okay, once on Unique's website, we'll go to the Support and Downloads. We'll choose our product. Today we're working with the Typhoon H. When we scroll down, we're going to look for controller firmware and drone firmware. Today we're going to be updating both the controller, or the ST16, as well as the drone. Today we're going to be updating the Typhoon H with RealSense. Find the correct drone firmware you'd like to download. This one being the standard, and then this one being the European version. We're going to download the standard, and we're also going to download the ST16 update. While your files are downloading, we got to go ahead and get the Typhoon H ready for updates. Now that we got the Typhoon H and the ST16 out of the packaging, we need to grab a few things out of the accessories box. We'll open up the accessories box. You'll see an SD card. We could use that for updating the ST16. We also have an updating cable and charge cable for the ST16. Once we have the SD card, we could go ahead and plug this in to the side of our laptop. Now that the SD card is installed, we can see this new drive here. We're going to take this Typhoon H 2.25 and move it over onto the root of the SD card. Once transferred, we want to make sure we eject the card properly. With a Mac, there's an eject button. With a PC, we want to right-click and select eject. The next thing we want to do is prepare our Typhoon H for the update. We're going to go ahead and extend each of the arms. Remove the gimbal protector. We're going to install a fully charged battery. Our first step is to install the SD card into the camera of the Typhoon H. Make sure you put it in correctly and press to lock it in place. Now we're going to power on our ST16 and the aircraft. Once everything is powered up and we're getting a video image on our screen, we can select System Settings, OK the flight warning, and navigate to About Controller. Here we can see where the ST16 updates occur. We can see the current version of the ST16. We can also see the current version of the Typhoon H, including the gimbal, the autopilot, the camera, and the RealSense version. Since we're updating the Typhoon H first, we'll select Update. We'll OK this warning, and the ST16 and the Typhoon H will decompress the files and start the update process. When updating, you'll notice that the ST16 will let you know what it is updating. Autopilot is currently updating, and we could also look at our camera and notice when the camera starts to update. We'll get a purple light right above the lens. During the update process, you may hear the Typhoon H power cycle and restart. At the end of the updates, a restart of the aircraft is usually required. Power down the Typhoon H and then power it back on. We can navigate to the main screen now and wait for the camera to connect to the ST16. Now that the camera is connected, we can navigate back into System Settings, OK any warning, and go to About Controller. We can now see under the Typhoon H that the gimbal, the autopilot, the camera, and the RealSense module were updated with just one file. So we'll notice that the SD card has quite a few items inside it. What we want to do on a Mac is just simply highlight these and move them over to the trash can. On a PC, we could right-click on the drive and select Format. We'll now take the file that we downloaded earlier from the Unique website, labeled as ST16 version 3.123. We'll show this in the Finder, and then we'll transfer this file over to the root of the SD card. Once the firmware is placed on the SD card, we can go ahead and eject that SD card. Once the SD card is installed, we can power on the ST16. Once powered up, we can select System Settings, we can OK any warnings, and go to About Controller. Under the ST16, we'll select Update. We'll OK this warning, and the ST16 will unpack the firmware and install it into the system. Whenever updating the Typhoon H, you want to make sure that you look for an ST16 update as well. New features could be added into the Typhoon H that need to be also added to the ST16. During the update process, you'll see that the transmitter will update both the TX and the RF version if needed. If only the RF version needs to be updated, you'll only see the RF version. Once the update has been completed, you'll notice the ST16 will power off. If also the Android version needs to be updated, this will be done during this process. Once the update has been completed, the ST16 will restart. We can verify the update by going to System Settings, About Controller, and reading the firmware version under ST16. You can see here we have version 3.01B23. If your Typhoon H does need to get bound back to the ST16, check out our binding videos on the Typhoon H. Now that we've updated the Typhoon H and the ST16, we can now take full advantage of those new features out on the field. So go have fun and make sure your Typhoon H is up to date.